Hello everybody, welcome back to Access Blockbusters and welcome to a quick non-spoiler immediate reaction to the first episode of the new HBO series in the beloved franchise Dune Prophecy. But before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed to the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel, make sure to do so and give this video a like and comment down below with what you thought about the first episode of Dune Prophecy. For those of you who are unaware, we do an Access Blockbusters pod every single week, so we'll release an episode later on in the week and we'll release clips from those episodes throughout the week, and we'll be releasing our spoiler discussion for Dune Prophecy, where I'll go much further in depth on the first episode as we get ready for episode number 2. So look forward to that on the channel later on in the week. As I said, this is going to be a non-spoiler reaction, so I'm not going to talk about any of the specific details, just want to give some general thoughts, especially because this is the first episode, so I wanted to kind of give some first impressions here. So again, make sure to subscribe, and here we go, guys. This is the first episode of Dune Prophecy, and really one of the big questions that I had going into this was how close was it going to adhere to the films, the aesthetic of the films, the lore, the canon, the characters, the stakes, and for just a little bit of context here about my background with Dune. I have read the first 2 Dune books, so that's Dune and then Dune Messiah. And Dune, the first book, comprises of the story of Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, the movies, and then Dune Part 3 is going to be the story of Dune Messiah, I believe. So I have that knowledge, but, I haven't read every single Dune book. I don't know the lore too extensively, other than just the little snippets here and there that they give in the first Dune book, especially about the Orange Catholic Bible and the War of the Machines and things like that. So I know that, the first Dune story takes place many, many thousands of years in the future. And so I was very interested to hear about a story that was going to take place many, 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 many thousands of years before Paul Atreides. And this is a story that has a lot of obviously free reign to do what it wants because it's going to be so far in the past, but it also has some really interesting connections to a lot of things that are familiar to those people who know Dune. Now, one thing that I did hear in early reactions is that this is a series that is really going to resonate with those people who are familiar or very invested in the Dune lore. And I can see that. I can see that people who are not that familiar, who maybe just casually watch the first 2 Dune films, might be very confused as to what's going on here. That being said, I do think that the story itself is very interesting. I don't think that this first episode was as coming out of the gate as strong as the first episode of Penguin, per se. But I do think that it sets up the show in such an interesting way because there's a lot of intrigue going on. This is a show about intrigue, right? The first episode of Penguin set up a show that was about gang wars and about espionage, betrayals, and who's going to come out on top. This is a show that is sort of dealing with a similar thing, but not necessarily in the way of the underworld, but more so in the political realm. And I think that that is super interesting. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Bene Gesserit, which is what this show primarily focuses on, the sisterhood, those sort of witch characters that were trying to control the bloodline and, create the savior character that is Paul Atreides in the Dune films. Though that is the focus of this series. And it's very interesting because there is sort of this focus on all-encompassing, how are they going to take over, right? How are they going to be ultimately the ones in power at the end of all of this? And so, yeah, I think that the show is very interesting. I think that also the show does a good job of setting up interesting characters, as almost every single HBO show does. They're so good at it. And I think that, while, again, this first episode was not rock star, it wasn't, my favorite episode of anything of all time, it wasn't better than all the Dune movies put together, I think that it sets up a very interesting story. There are a lot of subplots, but I think that they all kind of came together very nicely at the end, and now I'm actually looking forward to seeing where they're going to take it in episode 2. I think this show is going to be more of a slow burn, and I'm hoping that at a certain point they can turn on the jets and connect everything, and then we go from there. But this is a great first episode, I think, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. So guys, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the first episode of Dune Prophecy, and yeah, make sure to subscribe to the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel for the spoiler discussion of the episode 1 and for more content coming out this week, and I will see you guys in the next one.